Michelle Obama has openly admitted that she and Barack sleep in separate bedrooms. Here's how it works. She sleeps downstairs, and he likes men. Chinning. The weather. Let's do a monologue. Rumors continue to escalate for the Obamas. Hopefully they can settle it like men.
And my goodness, you want to talk about the most overrated political hype of a generation? It would go to Michelle Obama. Anyway, that's just a side note that's been on my mind for a while.
I'm happy to make fun of her look. It's very strange. It was Benny Johnson who dubbed that one hairstyle the Stegosaurus.
I'm not getting into that.
She like 3 bumps on the back, Stegosaurus. It's very strange.
For over a decade, Barack and Michelle Obama were presented to the world as the ultimate power couple. Their story was a modern fairy tale, a brilliant romance, a perfect family, and a united front that took them all the way to the White House. But behind the curated photos and the flawless speeches, a different story was unfolding. It was a story of resentment, separate lives, and a carefully guarded image that was built to conceal a much more complicated and shocking truth. And once you see the cracks, you can't unsee them.
Let me warn you, your rage does not exist in a vacuum. If we don't get this election right, your wife, your daughter, your mother, we as women will become collateral damage to your rage. To the women listening, we have every right to demand that the men in our lives do better by us. We have to use our voices to make these choices clear to the men that we love. Our lives are worth more than their anger and disappointment.
What's that pitter-patter sound I'm hearing in the background? It's the footsteps of Barack running to vote for Trump.
It all began with a single, startling admission that sent shockwaves through the public. In an interview, Michelle casually revealed that for a full decade, she couldn't stand her husband. This wasn't a joke. She described a period of overwhelming bitterness as she was left at home to raise their 2 young daughters, while Barack's political star was rising. She was playing the part of a single mother, juggling everything, while he was out changing the world. For many, this was a relatable struggle. But coming from the woman who was one half of the world's most idealized couple, it was a bombshell. It wasn't just a confession. It was the first major crack in the flawless facade of their marriage, exposing a deep-seated resentment that had been simmering for years just beneath the surface. The picture-perfect partnership suddenly seemed like a carefully managed performance. But the emotional distance she described was only the beginning of the story.
So, Kat, they know that they're having a hard time with men.
Right.
Doesn't seem like this is the right strategy.
No.
She basically says that they're hurting women by voting for Trump.
But I think they don't understand that where it comes from in the first place is that people are sick of being told how bad they are and talked down to, and
Republican women are too dumb to make up their own minds about President Trump. They did it because they're men. Told them to after that ridiculous, remember that ad the Democrats ran with Julia Roberts voiceover where the women
I remember.
secretly...
It's our little secret. Yep,
yeah, this is what they think of. This is what they think of Republican women.
And at this phase of my life, I'm in therapy right now because I'm transitioning. You know, I'm 60 years old. I've finished a really hard thing in my life with my family intact. I'm an empty nester. My girls are in, you know, they've been launched. And now for the first time, as I've said before, every choice that I'm making is completely mine. I now don't have the excuse of, well, my kids need this or my husband needs that or the country needs that. So how do I think about this next phase?
Once again, speaking a reference to her time as First Lady negatively, and I'm transitioning. I mean, an interesting choice of words given how the internet refers to her.
Greg Gutfeld, ever the snarky gremlin in a...
Soon, the whispers about their emotional divide turned into questions about their physical one. Rumors began to circulate, gaining traction in circles both online and off. that the Obamas were living essentially separate lives. The most persistent claim was that they no longer shared a bedroom, with Michelle preferring her own space away from Barack. While the White House is a big place, this narrative followed them to their post-presidency life. Friends and insiders hinted at a relationship that had evolved into more of a business partnership than a romance. Barack was frequently seen on boys' trips or golfing with friends, while Michelle embarked on her own lavish vacations to Spain and other exotic locales with her inner circle. They were rarely seen together in candid, private moments. To the public, it looked less like a couple enjoying their freedom and more like two individuals pursuing their own separate interests, only coming together for public appearances. The storybook romance had seemingly faded, replaced by a polite professional arrangement. And as the public tried to make sense of this new dynamic, the whispers started to turn into something much darker and far more bizarre.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years, and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
I think you're 100% right. This is only her third episode. I can't think of anybody I would go to for advice less than Michelle Obama. She really doesn't know what she's talking about. First of all, she loves to tell us she hated Barack for a good decade.
Yes.
Okay, please teach me how to have a successful relationship with someone that you clearly respect and admire. Every time she's on the air, it's like, I'm dragging this ball of dead weight behind me. His name, Barack Obama.
The strangest chapter in the Michelle Obama saga began with a single peculiar word she used on her podcast. While discussing her life after her daughters left for college, she announced, "I'm transitioning." She was, of course, referring to the transition into an empty nester life. But the internet, a place where context goes to die, seized on that one word. It became the fuel for one of the most persistent and outlandish conspiracy theories of the modern era. The rumor that Michelle Obama was born a man named Michael. This baseless theory, known as Big Mike, spread like wildfire through the darkest corners of the web. Photos were scrutinized, videos were slowed down, and every aspect of her physique was debated. It was a vicious, unfounded attack, yet it refused to disappear. For her critics, her transitioning comment was a Freudian slip. For everyone else, it was a terrifying example of how a public figure's life could be twisted into a grotesque narrative, completely detached from reality. Whether a strategic choice of words or a simple mistake, it opened a Pandora's box of speculation that has haunted her ever since.
They blame gender for her surrender. This week, Michelle Obama scolded female Trump supporters in front of an audience at a business conference in Boston, a city in Massachusetts. She said the former First Lady, quote, "Any woman who voted against Hillary Clinton voted against their own voice. What does it mean for us as women that we look at those two candidates and many of us said, that guy, he's better for me. His voice is more true to me." Well, to me, that just says you don't like your voice. You like the thing you're told to like. I don't get this. No one likes their own voice. Have you ever listened to your own voicemail? It is horrifying.
While these personal dramas unfolded, a professional one was brewing that was just as controversial. For years, Michelle Obama has insisted that she despises politics. She has claimed it's a messy and mean business that she wants no part of. Yet her actions tell a completely different story. She and Barack founded Higher Ground Productions, signing a colossal multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix to produce documentaries and series. She has written best-selling memoirs that have been accompanied by massive stadium-sized book tours, complete with rock star lighting and celebrity moderators. These weren't book readings. They were political rallies disguised as self-help seminars. She wields immense political influence, shaping public opinion and mobilizing voters, all while claiming to be a private citizen who just wants to be left alone. This contradiction has led many to see her as a reluctant queen. someone who wants all the power, adoration, and influence of a political leader, but none of a leader's responsibilities or accountability. It's a masterful strategy, controlling the game from the sidelines without ever officially stepping onto the field.
Bringing me down. I'm trying to elevate myself with like these things on my head.
It looks like Mickey Mouse.
It's so
like
weird.
The two ears up there, these two big balls on the left and the right of her head.
Like, what kind of midlife crisis is she in the throes of right now?
No,
she's constantly.
Did you see the other one where she had the three balls on the back of her head, and I think it was Benny Johnson was calling it her Stegosaurus cut. That's what it looks like the back of a Stegosaurus.
And, you know, the condescension doesn't work. None of what they're doing really works. I mean, the Walls AOC live stream of them playing Madden together was supposed to be to get, like, dudes who like football on their side, and they did it during football. Like, who's consulting them on this stuff?
Yeah. It's a
woman, probably, also.
It's a gay man.
For a long time, the mainstream media treated Michelle Obama as an untouchable icon. Any criticism was quickly dismissed as unfair or worse. But eventually, the tide began to turn. A new wave of commentators, led by sharp-tongued critics like Megyn Kelly and Greg Gutfeld, began to publicly dissect the carefully constructed Michelle persona. They weren't afraid to call out what they saw as blatant hypocrisy. Kelly pointed out how Michelle would preach to women about finding their own voice, then turn around and scold any woman who dared to vote for the wrong candidate, suggesting they were brainwashed by the men in their lives. Gutfeld relentlessly mocked her image as a moral authority, joking that she was treated with such reverence that she could spill coffee on a puppy, and the media would call it a brave act of performance art. They exposed her I'm Above Politics tour as the ultimate political act, a way to campaign and attack opponents without ever having to face a debate or a tough question. Suddenly, the Empress of Inspiration was under fire, and her polished armor was starting to show some serious dents. The most potent criticism leveled against Michelle is the stark disconnect between her message of shared struggle and her reality of extreme privilege. From the stage, she speaks of unity, empathy, and understanding the plight of the common person. She delivers these speeches before flying private back to her $12 million waterfront mansion in Martha's Vineyard, an exclusive enclave for the world's wealthiest and most powerful people. She talks about sacrifice while vacationing with Oprah and Tom Hanks on billion-dollar yachts. This isn't just a case of being successful. It's a paradox that sits at the very core of her public brand. How can you be the voice of the people when you live a life that is completely and utterly detached from their reality? Her critics argue that she's not speaking for the country. She's speaking down to it from an ivory tower, wrapped in designer clothes and protected by a wall of wealth so high that the concerns of everyday Americans are little more than a faint echo.
Oh, so she's constantly like hitting that wound of like, are we divorcing? Don't be gossiping about us. You know, I'm just trying to be an independent woman over here. I hate my husband, but I love my husband. But, you know, when she's not doing that, so her brother is her podcast co-host. She's constantly berating him. Like every episode, you didn't tell me you were having marital problems. Like he has to explain to her a million freaking times, hey, I was trying to work out my marriage. And if it did work out and I told you what the problems were, you would hold a grudge against my wife for the rest of your days.
Which is real. We all know
We
it.
all know. Nobody holds a grudge like Michelle Obama.
It's amazing. Every word she says about Barack Obama is negative.
This is where, like, Michelle Obama is kind of full of it. And you know this is true. When Biden announced he was resigning via fax, nothing weird about it, okay? Obama tweeted that they were looking forward to an open primary where they'd pick a nominee. And I know that to be relevant to this story because you could see that Michelle Obama isn't trying. Like, she accused Trump in that same speech of avoiding interviews. On the same night he did a 3-hour interview. That's like accusing Chris Christie of avoiding pizza. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, because when you're thinking of victims of this awful world, you think of Michelle Obama and how terrible we've all been to her. This woman is a one-woman destitution derby. every time we check in on her at her podcast, she is feeling sorry for herself. She is criticizing Barack Obama or this country. She never has a positive word to say about anything.
All of this, the marital strain, the bizarre rumors, the political but not political empire, and the growing criticism has led to one explosive, overarching theory about her future. In the world of politics, there is a persistent belief that Michelle Obama is the Democratic Party's secret weapon, the break glass in case of emergency candidate for president. The theory goes that she is the only figure with enough popularity and name recognition to unite the party and win an election without having to endure a brutal primary battle. Her constant presence in the media, her carefully worded speeches about the state of the nation, and her immense platform are seen not as the work of a former First Lady, but as the groundwork for a future campaign. It would be the ultimate power play, a candidate who claims to hate politics, sweeping in to take its ultimate prize, the idea that she is playing a long game, positioning herself to step in at the perfect moment, has become one of the most debated and compelling narratives in modern American politics. So, who is the real Michelle Obama? The journey from the perfect political wife to a complex, polarizing, and undeniably powerful public figure is full of contradictions. Is she the victim of a toxic political climate and bizarre online conspiracies? A good person trying to use her platform for positive change? Or is she one of the most masterful and calculated political operators of our time? A woman who has built an empire based on a carefully crafted illusion of reluctance. The image she presents is one of hope, light, and inspiration. But lurking just behind that image is a story of ambition, power, and strategy so brilliant it remains hidden in plain sight. And as the world watches her next move, the biggest question remains, is her story finished, or is the most shocking chapter yet to be written?